Let's cover how to go over using the Carbon for Unreal DMX camera. The DMX camera's got two components. It's got a camera manager, which lets you toggle between different DMX cameras in your scene. So that's your camera switcher. And there's also the camera components, which you can place around your scene. We're gonna go through both of those. To get started, here's the DMX chart so that you can patch both the cameras and the camera manager to your project. I've already patched that in my console. I'm going to go to the library in the Carbon Core panel to Helpers, DMX Camera Manager, and I'm just going to place that into the scene. This is a camera manager object. It won't show up when you click play, but it needs to be in the scene to control the various cameras and which camera is currently live. So I'm just going to set this off to the side. In my scene, I have my test scene here. I can play, I can walk around. I've got some lights in it, doing some interesting things. So now I want to add some DMX cameras to this scene. What I'm going to do is click my DMX camera manager right here in my scene. You can see that it's selected. And then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to click this checkbox that says create camera. So I'll create a camera, and you can see that it created a new camera, DMX camera 0. It placed it in my scene. I can see it here in my world outliner, DMX camera 0. If I go back to my manager, I can see that it gave it an automatic patch of 0.1. Obviously that's invalid. Let's change that to 1.1. And it placed it at 000 in my scene. So I'm going to find it. It's going to be probably hiding somewhere in the middle here. I'll just bring it up, and you can see that there's this nifty little camera avatar that tells me where it's pointing. Right now I've got it pointing towards my scene. Let me just place that real quick. Let's make it look at something interesting. You can see that I see a preview of what my DMX camera is looking at its default position. The default position of the camera is going to be for your pan, your tilt, and all of your translations. That's going to be when your value is 127 or halfway, 50%. So my 50% position of my camera, I'll put right here, kind of looking at the staircase. Great. So now I'm going to go back into my camera manager. I've already patched my camera to 1.1. I also know that in my console, I've patched my camera manager to 511 at the end of the universe. So I'll set that there. So what the camera manager patch does is that channel will allow me to select the various different cameras in my scene. They're numbered here. The number here will say 0, but they're all offset by 1. So this will be camera 1. And if I wanted to create extra cameras, I could create more cameras, and this would be the various other cameras. If I don't want to, I can go ahead and I can delete each of these in my array. And if I look at this, you can see that DMX camera 0, which is the one that I have right here that I positioned, is still number 0. So that'll be the first camera that I can control. I'll just delete the other ones right there. And now I'm looking at my scene. I've got my camera, I've got my camera manager, they're patched, they're ready to go. I'll make sure that I have my connection on, that I can receive DMX data. I've got some stuff here in the monitor, so that's fantastic. And now I will test my scene. So by default, on the camera manager channel, if my value is 0, then I'm going to use the default camera or player position in the scene. I won't possess any of my DMX cameras. I have free control. So if you have some sort of player controller or anything in your scene, it will default to that by setting the value of the DMX camera manager channel to 0. I'm going to increment my DMX camera channel to 1 in my console, and you can see that it snaps to the camera that I placed immediately. I no longer have control. It is actually snapped to that camera, and it's being controlled by DMX. So I'll release my mouse, and then I'll go into my console to channel 1.1, and I can move a couple of the values there. And you can see that I've got translation, forward and back. I can truck left to right. I can move up and down. If I switch to rotation, I can pan around, can tilt my camera, can also roll my camera. I'll set those all back to the center. I've also got control of my FOV, my field of view, and also the exposure control settings. So you can see that I can set my field of view, which is my zoom, and also exposure settings. If I look at my camera right here, by default, it gives us these ranges. So off of center, it will move half of this amount in each direction based on your DMX value in your console. So for rotation, you can see that the rotation defaults are 360 degrees. If I go to the rotate, I can go all the way to 0. I'm looking who knows where. And if I spin around, we'll see, I'll turn around, I can see the whole scene, and then I'll go all the way back around again, and I'm facing backwards. I can also do the same thing down. Got a full 360 degree rotation if I go from 0 to 100 in the console. I'll center those back up to the position of the defaults where I place the camera in the scene manually. So that is how to use the DMX camera system in Carbon for Unreal.